right, welcome back. Welcome back to episode number 22 of the Altered States Unplugged podcast. I am one half of this dynamic duo, Kyle Strubing. I am here with my other half, my life partner, my wife partner, Jojo Strubing. Jojo, baby, how we doing today?
I'm good. It's been a little minute since we've been in podcast studio mode, so I'm glad to be back, bringing in some good episodes.
New podcast studio, too.
Yes, we have a new studio.
So
we're trying it out.
We're trying it out. Something different.
A little trendier.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of started in this co-working space, and we've been utilizing the heck out of it, so it's been nice. It's definitely helped us. Working from home is great. However, there's a lot of distractions, and we've just found kind of coming in here and banging some things out, doing things like this, has just helped. It really has helped. So shall we get started on it?
Yeah.
All right. So episode 22 is biohacking or bullshit, or we're going to refer to this, going to be interchangeable there. With bullshit and BS, right? Of course. What's actually what's actually helping people feel better in 2025. So we're going to go over some basic, or I don't know if they're basic even, but some of these wellness trends you may see that might have been viral. They might have been something that you heard on a podcast, on Rogan or whatever. And we're going to kind of give our thoughts on it, and just see what we think, right? We're going to back it up with a little science. You know, and kind of, and most of these things I've tried, or some of these things also we do in the store. Yeah. So we admittedly biased towards some, but we'll give you kind of just our breakdown in what we think.
Yeah, there is a lot of noise out there.
Yes.
Like, there is stuff I see every day, this new biohacking trend or this new thing, this new tool. And, you know, of course, being in the industry we're in, I'm always like first to dive in and scope it out. So yeah, we've tried a lot of these things, and I think you'll enjoy this episode. We're just going to talk about the trend. You know, we explored a little bit of the research behind it to see, you know, is there actual science behind this thing, or is this just something somebody's tried? And, you know, I think it's always good to go try new things and see how they work for yourself. Yeah. But, you know, I'm not always the first one to jump on every bandwagon out there. So
I'm the first one to try it, though.
Yeah, you are.
I'll be honest. I'll try anything for 6 weeks. And honestly, that kind of curiosity has really fueled everything here, right? All the way to, I mean, that's why we got our first float tank, was because we were curious about it and we wanted to see. And this is kind of some of the process. We go through the science, we use it ourselves. Is this viable not only to the customer in store, or is this, and is this viable as a business? Yeah. Really is kind of how we take all of this.
Before we dive into the first one, I know this isn't in our notes, but probably a good thing for us to talk about, like, what is biohacking? I mean, we hear this term a lot. A lot of you out there may be like, what are they even talking about? So how would you describe biohacking?
So for me, it's a lot more Eastern, right? A lot of these things are held in tradition, like cold plunge and sauna. We've been doing that stuff for generations, and, you know, the science backs all that up. So for me, I get it, but really is kind of doing pharmaceutical solutions, you know, being able to basically pull the same lever without taking a pill is really what we're doing. And it's, you know, treating or helping to mitigate. We have to be real careful with the terms, but, you know, and you'll see this in this episode's, you know, we'll go through some studies, and a lot of the studies are very clear about it. And all these things we find on PubMed, and their interpretations of it may show this, or it has shown. So it's really, you're really trying to pull the same levers without, you know, using the traditional, you know, Western style medicine. So what do you, where do you kind of line up on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. We went to a conference, CryoCon, recently, and Dave Asprey spoke. He's like the godfather of biohacking. And he said, you know, he doesn't like to explain biohacking as being anti-aging because he doesn't like that term. Like, he doesn't believe in, you know, going backwards, but he does believe in longevity, like, living longer and living more fully. And I think when you think about biohacking, like that's the ultimate goal is longevity, kind of like hacking your biochemistry in order to, fuel yourself to feel better throughout the day and live longer. And
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. And Dave Asprey's kind of the GOAT, so we have to defer to that for sure.
Shout out, Dave.
Yeah, shout out. Do you want to get started on the first one?
Yeah, let's go with the first one.
All right, so you give it a shot. Go for it.
All right, so it is brain care is the new skin care.
Okay. I like that.
Okay.
Skincare, obviously I'm not the skincare guy. Mm-hmm. So skincare being what, like the new fad?
Yeah.
Or what do we...
I guess, I think skincare, we think of it, that's like a routine we do every day to keep our skin good. So it's like taking care of your brain as much as you're taking care of your skin.
You have to explain this. That's why I asked us Neanderthals here the extent of my skincare is sunscreen, so it's... I see all of JoJo's products and stuff. I'm like, what is this? That's kind of a whole nother. I'm a little bit lean more towards this.
True,
but yes, okay, fair. Kinsley for sure is trying. That's for sure. But yeah, so the idea with this is that people finally kind of realizing that your brain needs just as much love as your body does, right? You think of things like neurofeedback, nootropics, like a brain tap headset, tools to train your brain waves and boost your mental clarity, right? A couple things about nootropics, right? If you're not overly familiar with that, we do sell them in the store, right? You have this nootropics and adaptogens, both of them. So in the nootropics and adaptogen game, it's a lot of as you start to notice, there's a lot of correlations between hemp and kind of the nootropic thing in the marketing of it versus, kind of the effectiveness, almost that indica sativa feel I noticed. A nootropic is defined, right, as something that stimulates cognitive function. So typically you'll see a nootropic and adaptogens. Well, what's an adaptogen? An adaptogen is defined as a substance that enhances an increased state of non-specific resistance within the brain. So the idea, right, is you kind of increase that mental clarity with the nootropic and decrease the stress, right? So it's so with caffeine, take for example, you're all raw, and that's kind of the pitch to it. But when you see a blend, it's nootropics, adaptogens, you're creating that, kind of the space in the middle by jamming one down and then raising another one. So that kind of plays into it. That's why you don't have that crash. You're not as jittery on nootropics. I notice a lot of it in like mental recall. Mm-hmm. So before we came in here, before we do podcasts, I'll take a nootropic, typically a faster acting one, so that I have it more readily available. And I find that my speech is a little bit more clear, and I can also, it's just tip of the tongue all the time. You know what I'm saying? So that just kind of a nootropic adaptogen 101 is that's kind of what you're doing. So if something is just a nootropic or just an adaptogen. So adaptogens, the most common one in that is L-theanine. And not to get overly technical, but we've been selling L-theanine in sleep forever.
Love it. It's one of my favorites.
Because it's increasing your stress response is like what this says. Mm-hmm. Very similar to CBD actually in its end goal.
Right.
It's a different system, but in its end goal. So not to get overly technical, but I just try to communicate to you guys when you walk into a store, like, what the hell are we doing, right? Yeah. So you want to get into some of the science on that?
On the nootropics?
On the nootropics. There was a study in 2021 was published in Nature Neuroscience, found that simple neural training exercises significantly improved working memory and cognitive performance in adults over just a few weeks. Now, this goes back to that brain tap, right?
Yeah,
right.
Which I don't think we've talked about yet.
Which we can. So we'll just pivot it. If we pivot into that, tell me a little bit about that brain tap headset.
Yeah. So, you got the supplements, the brain, the nootropics. These are things that you can take to keep your brain healthy, keep yourself focused, like Kyle said. Yeah. Brain Tap is these new headsets, a little sneak peek. You might be seeing them in Altered States Wellness locations here coming soon. We're kind of obsessed, but They're headsets, and it's using like neural feedback and brain waves to keep your brain healthy.
Right.
And there's so many different levers. So there's like different ones you can do to help keep your brain calm, to help work through past traumas or PTSD, to just like even athletes will use them before games to like get their brain really focused. But it uses like sound waves, light waves, and to kind of help rewire your brain. Very interesting. There's a lot of science behind it, and we'll probably do an episode here in the future just on this. But it's incredible. What's really cool is we've been able to do brain scans before and after using these headsets, and it's amazing what you can see. Like you can see the transformation of these waves in your brain, and like it's a totally different image before and after. So we are going to dive more into this, but I'm a pretty big fan of it so far from what I've seen. I mean, it's like to be able to see those true transformations in your brain health and really being able to help you work through things like anxiety and trauma and all of that. Right?
Yeah. And that's kind of part of our journey too, right? Is that I'm deathly afraid of having Alzheimer's. So we're able to then kind of look at the different parts of the brain that manifest in anxiety or, like your fight or flight. So they can see and track that specific thing. And then as you progress throughout the services, I kind of jump in the shark here, but as you progress through the services, you can actually see, and they put data to it. So you can see how well you're doing as opposed to being like, well, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was your memory today?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was. Like, okay, 0, So now you can see, hey, the activity is more in this area, manifesting in a decrease of anxiety or an increase in memory, things like that.
Really cool stuff.
Really cool stuff. I could talk about it forever.
And you're so right to bring up Alzheimer's, which I know is
100%.
It's a big thing for you. It runs in Kyle's family. And so, but I mean, it's out there. So many people. I mean, I just heard another story yesterday of somebody who their aunt, just passed 52 years old from early onset. I mean, it's happening so much. And so, really taking care of our brains, like, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, it's so common now. They're calling it type 3 diabetes.
It's devastating.
Yeah, it's brutal. Don't wish that on anyone for sure. But on a lighter note, just right. So in like day-to-day application, right? Why something like this is important is we're so distracted now, right? And so overstimulated. This thing right here, this beast, which is what honestly through flow therapy and everything, we're fighting that 100%, right? And what we're trying to do is kind of gain some of that focus and gain some of that control back in this super noisy world, right?
Yeah.
So it's yes, you want to be thinking about the future and longevity, but even not, like, you want to focus in the moment too. So it's kind of a double play with that. So with that being said, brain care is the new skincare. Jojo, what you got here? You got biohack or bullshit? Yeah.
I'm going to say biohack on this one.
For sure.
If you couldn't tell throughout talking about this one, like, I am all in on this. When we got to see those true brain scans, I was like, okay, this is doing something, at first you just put these headphones on, it's like a little meditation, you're like, is this doing anything?
Which I dig meditation, don't get me wrong. Like, I would supplant that as my daily meditation, because it's just, you sit there and you meditate and you're so distracted. It's like, why not elevate that? Like, why not take that to the next level? Yeah. And that's really what it does. Yeah.
So I'm going biohack.
Yeah, for sure. I'm all in on the biohack. Absolutely. 100%. Awesome. 100%. So number 2, babe.
Number 2, red light therapy is having its main character moment.
Yeah, girl.
Okay, this is obviously a service that we offer, but red light therapy is exploding everywhere, and for good reason. It's pretty powerful, the benefits and things that we've seen with the science behind red light therapy, but it's interesting. Kyle and I always study our AdWords on Google.
Yeah.
And red light therapy has just been trending up and up and up month over month. So there's been such a strong interest around red light therapy at our Richardson grand opening. I mean, I think there was a 3-hour wait for the red therapy. Everybody wants the red therapy. So, but let's talk a little bit about the science behind red light therapy, because it is one of those services that you go in and it's not like you walk out feeling like, it's not like a cold plunge where you're like, whew, or a sauna where you sweat it out. Like you feel that, you come out of the float tank and you feel 10 times calmer. Red light.
It's a consistency thing. Yeah.
It's not. So what is it doing? So a lot of people will be like, what's going on? Like, what's happening in here? So you want to talk a little bit about the science?
Yeah. So the principle is there's different waves. It's measured in nanometers, first of all, and certain nanometers penetrate through the skin at certain depths and certain levels. It's overly complicated, but what they do, a good red light bed will be able to manipulate the waves that go in. And also you have to the red light mask that you're wearing on your face, yes, it's super close and it's great, but they're just not that powerful. So it's giving you, and it's only going on the first layer of skin, whereas the other ones can break all the way through to the muscle. So on scales of 850 nanometers, that's where you want the deep muscle recovery and stuff like that. So you can manipulate it different ways in there. And it's all, if you look, you have from 0 to, I think in the 900s of how bright. And then as it goes red starts at essentially, I think 750 so it starts at yellow, it goes all the way through, right? So there's different layers and based on the machines now, some of the more advanced red light beds actually have blue and green light in them too now. So that it can attack at these multiple different levels and different angles too. So if you notice on a lot of these red light beds, when they're curved, you're like, what is that all about? So that you can fit in there better. It's no, so it can penetrate your skin at different angles. Now a good bed, I kind of flew through that, will hit it at multiple different angles based off of what you're looking for, right? So it can hit that and give you that desired result. Like I said, it sounds a little goofy and all that stuff, but it's actually real. So you can see there's a ton of literature on it, but it's very interesting to see how they're able to do that. And a good bed can drive where those lights go to give you that desired response. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. Okay.
To me, it did.
Good. Good. All right. Well, audience of one, right? Yeah. And then, but what you're doing is it can be it shows that it can help boost your cellular energy. So at ATP, now we've been taking in bodybuilders and stuff like that, have been taking ATP supplements and things like that all the time. So that what that does will help you reduce inflammation, improves your skin tone, and even can speed up the muscle recovery at those deeper at the higher nanometer marks, right?
Yeah, I've seen this huge focus lately on cellular health.
Yes,
and because so much research is coming out that if you don't have healthy cells, your body can't do these things that you're wanting it to do, right? And so focusing on these things like red light therapy or PEMF or, taking that fulvic, supplement, those are all things that are going to help bring you that good cellular energy. And as you can see, it gives you so many incredible benefits in return, like the inflammation, the red light therapy for skin. People use it so much for scarring. You use it post surgery for recovery and things like that. But the one thing with red light is you got to be consistent with it.
You got to get at it.
It's not just a one session thing. If you got to sign up
3 sessions a week, a couple times a week.
Yeah, and be consistent, and that's when you're really going to start seeing the awesome results.
Yeah, so there was a meta-analysis in photomedicine and laser surgery. So it is in that when they went through it, it did support, it did support its effectiveness in wound healing, skin care, things like that. So there is some science on it, and we've been using it forever too. Is another thing, right?
Yeah.
A couple of examples how people use it is pro athletes will do it a lot of times post-training. Beauty enthusiasts, like JoJo said, they wear the masks, look like Jason in the hockey goal, in the hockey mask. You're a little young for that, Friday the 13th. But and then wellness seekers are looking to do it because it can be calming, and it can start that circadian rhythm. which is basically your body's clock. Like Huberman's real big on this, going outside right away and taking your, without sunglasses in the morning and getting like 20 minutes of that direct sunlight, not staring at the sun, but as the sun comes up.
Yeah.
That helps with sleep and all that good stuff too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love this one. You want to call it?
No, I mean, I'm all in on it too.
Yeah,
It's a hack.
I'm a biohack. I'm a biohacker all day for red light.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah, obviously we do it at our studios. We're big believers. In fact, at some of our future locations, we'll be adding in like some even more powerful red light beds that are like just really, really powerful. So I'm excited for that. But we're all in on red light. And if you haven't tried it yet, come in, get yourself a package of 5 or 10 sessions and stick it out. I promise you'll see some pretty incredible things. So
love it. Cool. Well, I'm going to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And the next one is mouth taping. Are you familiar with that?
I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited to learn more about this one. You know more about it than me, so you're going to have to dig in.
I've used them. I've done them. The best brand out there is Hostage Tape.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah, great name. We got it in the mail. Joanne's like, "What is your
what are
deal,
you trying to do
dude?
to me?"
Like, what? Wait, do we need to have a talk? But yeah, so what you're doing is you're basically placing tape over your mouth at night, and that forces nasal breathing, right? And it sounds absolutely ridiculous. Fun fact, I did this in a cold plunge one time.
Really?
Yeah. I wouldn't do it again. Just because
tell me before you do these things.
I just wanted to make it. I know. I just wanted to make it tougher and see if I could do it. Now I have this little baby nose for a big guy, so I feel like my nasal pass, I've been told my nasal passages are real narrow. And dude, living in Texas has worn my ass out with the allergies. I'm constantly congested. That is one of the biggest kind of downfalls or whatever. And we'll get into some of the risks, but you are basically putting the tape over your mouth. In Hostage Tape really markets it, and they do a fantastic job of this as basically, I don't want to say a sleep supplement, but a sleep hack.
So you put it on your mouth while you sleep at night?
You put it on your mouth, you breathe through your nose, that way you don't snore nearly as much. So when you snore, a lot of these, shout out to Mark Strubing, right? When you're snoring, your tongue kind of falls back inside in your throat, kind of relaxes, and that's how you get that, and I guess the idea is that the air doesn't even go through there to create that snoring, which, anything sleep is an absolute game changer. Yeah. I love it. So yes. Should we go over some of the science?
Yeah, talk about the science.
So with that is obviously with nasal breathing, it filters the air better. It produces nitric oxide, which may reduce snoring, right? That's the first thing on it. The science-based evidence. Now, once again, Hostage Tape, respect. They have like hundreds of thousands of reviews. So I think that there's something there to it. Yeah. But as far as any hardcore scientific, it's very, very limited. It did show, there was a 2015 study that showed some reduced snoring in mild sleep apnea cases. But it was like 20 people. I kind of dug in on it and I was like, but if it works for you, it works for you, right? And I get that. Whatever works. But we kind of get into some of this, it's not concrete, right? For sure. Yeah. But most of it is, like we said, anecdotal, and there's sports from social media, and it's not super, super research based. So that should be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah.
With this.
Now let's talk about those risks you were sharing.
Yeah, so the risks, right? For people like me, nasal congestion, I'm always nasally, 100%. It's not the best. Now I've seen testimonials, I've seen some things from doctors who are like ear, nose, and throat doctors who have said that it's perfectly safe. And yes, it could be perfectly safe, but it's just not comfortable. It's not, when that cedar is flowing, there's just, I got no shot. So, it can cause skin irritation over there. It can cause anxiety too. which we don't want. But
it just bring it through your nose.
Well, breathing it through your nose, you feel restricted. It's like...
It would probably do that for me.
Yeah. It can be kind of anxiety induced. And then there is obviously a choking risk with that. You know, of course, you're taping your mouth. Like, what are we doing? So there can be some of that. So for me, what do you think, babe? Where are you at? You going to go bullshit or are you going to go biohack?
Yeah, I think I'm out on this one. This isn't bullshit for me. I mean, look, I have friends that are full believers in this, and like, I'm going to let them write it out and keep me updated, but it's not one, it's not one for me, for sure.
But in all due respect to, you know, the provider, the people that do this, you know, hostage tape and all that. You guys, excellent product. It's fantastic, and it's clearly working for a lot of people. Yeah. But for me, I'm out on it.
As far as like it biohacking your health, I mean,
if you sleep better, you're gonna feel better. Yeah. I get that. To me, there's better methods. You know, like if that's the level. You know, and I know you don't want to wear a CPAP mask, but there's other ways to kind of get her. Like, let's biohack to optimal fitness so you're not snoring. Let's biohack to not drinking. So, you know, I snore a ton. I used to snore a ton. Now I just don't anymore because I lost 50 pounds. I don't drink anymore and my diet's not terrible. Yeah. So shocking, you know, I think there's other ways to kind of biohack to the same goal without doing that. Now, putting it on and going in the cold plunge, you talk about some breath control there. That's, you know, it 100% eliminated that.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, so it was cool. It was something fun to try. You know, I still got them. If I'm feeling a little spicy and I feel like the cold plunge doesn't challenge me anymore, I might try that again. But once again, I think we're both out.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Moving on to the next one, which is the carnivore diet. I know you've all heard about this one. Yeah. We've got a ton of friends that do the carnivore, swear by it. Yeah. Look great, by the way. So yeah, talk to me about this one.
So the carnivore diet it's a very strict diet. It's all meat. And that's it.
Eggs, right?
Eggs, like but eggs to me are meat, right? It's all meat. It's zero carbs.
Meat products are.
Yeah. So to me, like, all right, cool. You're not eating vegetables, you know? All right. You know, I think there's a lot of kind of health strategy and health going around about it. Is it real? Is it this? Is it that? To me, like, I love elimination. To me, it's not about what you are eating; it's what you're not eating. If you go if you go from eating frickin' McDonald's 3 times a day to carnivore, yeah, dude, like for sure, you're eliminating all the processed this, processed that. But are we cutting out vegetables? You know, so to me, that's kind of, you know, and people see a ton of weight loss. I know, Jordan Peterson and his whole family, Jordan Peterson, Michaela Peterson, like they did it, and she had an incredible amount of skin disease and all types of stuff. And I think that's a good way to figure out what might be in your diet that's giving you that added inflammation,
or whatever. You're taking out the sugar, you're taking out the carbs and the gluten and the, you know, so then you can slowly add those back and see, you know, I think like you said, a lot of these times it's because you're eliminating all of those things, then you're seeing such great health benefits. So,
you know, and people are seeing weight loss, that you see better energy because you don't have that inflammation. It's, you know, you see a lot of relief from autoimmune diseases, and you see it just, there's a ton of benefits to it. I get it. I'm with you. But yeah, so that's really the positives. That's the ideas that are kind of, you know, what is this real? And I think, yeah, for sure, there's something to that for sure. Now, some other things with it being a little bit dicey, right, is the lack of long-term research on this. Just like a lot of these things, they just haven't gotten funded. There isn't as much money behind it. There's more money in pharma, so there's we see this very commonly. There's not really a large-scale peer-reviewed study on it. That's kind of one of the drawbacks on it. Like I said, kind of common in this industry. Now, the other drawback could be, or is definitely, in my opinion, for sure, some nutritional deficiencies. Like there's gaps then in your diet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you got to supplement then.
you got to supplement. You got to ramp the supplements. You're losing out on vitamins like C and K.
Low fiber.
Dude, not taking fiber is one of the biggest things for me in this.
Yeah.
Especially with dudes and colon cancer and stuff like that. Like, there are some health risks associated with high saturated fat, increasing the LDL cholesterol, colon cancer from low fiber, like we just touched on. And then the other thing that's tough too with this is it's very hard to do. It's very hard to execute, right? It's environmentally taxing. They say there's ethical issues with exclusive animal consumption, which take that for what you want. But it's, you're just constantly consuming this, getting all your calories from that beef and stuff like that. And then the other thing is this extreme restriction. Like, you're starving, you got to eat something. Where are you going to go? What do you do? And even that might even play into like weight loss is like, well, I'm just not going to eat. And you'll go 7 hours without eating, but then you're cranky and you're this. So it's definitely tough to execute. It certainly people see results with it.
Yeah.
So
what's your verdict?
Yeah, I'm going to go with, undetermined. Yeah. I mean, to me, I think it's a good hack.
I think it's a biohack
in the sense of a hack, man.
It's you're hacking your system. You're eliminating all these things from your diet. Yeah. You're upping your protein. Like, I don't know that this is a long-term play.
Absolutely not.
It's definitely a biohack. Like, if I'm, we talked about trying it out just to jumpstart our health back into getting eventually back to keto. I'd
rather just go keto. It's more sustainable in my opinion. But I definitely think it's a hack. I think you can figure out, and then as you add things back in, you can see what gives you certain reactions too. So maybe you were allergic to gluten, or maybe there was some nightshades
dairy
within peppers that you were consuming way too many of, and it made your joints click. Like, there's something to that. So I think it's a good way to kind of reset your whole thing. So I think we're both in on hack with that one, right?
Yeah, love it. All right, moving on here. The next one is mineral replenishment and electrolytes. So we've always, not to give it away, but been into electrolyte powders.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because, like, I think back to when I was growing up and, like, how, like, you thought, like, Gatorade was so healthy and, like, we were always drinking Gatorade. So, when all of these electrolyte mixes came out, it really reminded me, because I used to have those Gatorade powders and, like, loved those, like the powders you put when you get home. So when we got those you brought home those electrolyte powders, I was like, it reminded me of this Gatorade powder, and it got me all excited. So we were like I was all in on drinking them, but I really enjoy them. It helps me drink more water. It helps me feel more clear-headed. But so let's take a step back here and talk a little bit about what these electrolyte and mineral powders are doing, right?
Why? Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, not all hydration is equal. When we are just drinking water, sometimes it doesn't always carry a lot of those minerals and sodium and magnesium, those trace minerals that is needed for our body to actually absorb the water and hydrate our body. So, in 2020, there was a study in Nutrients that found that even mild dehydration and electrolyte imbalance can impair your mood and energy levels.
Right.
So, I notice so many times for me, like, I will wake up and go straight to the coffee, and I still just don't feel clear-headed, and I'm like, why isn't this coffee working? And then I go drink a giant glass of water. I'll throw a little bit of salt in the water, and I'm like, whoo, ready to go, focused for the day. And it's incredible. Just that little bit of, hydration to the brain. I think it's the best way to wake up in the morning, is to first thing before your coffee, take those electrolytes.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts?
On these powders in general? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think they're great. As long as there's no sugar in them.
Yeah.
I think they're great. I think now in the industry, it's gotten pretty complex, or it's been marketed as being pretty complex, but it's really sodium, potassium, like What are we talking about here? So, and yes, and if you're using dyes and that's kind of the tough part too, is it's like an electrolyte thing, which is Gatorade, that has dyes and sugar and this, that, and the other. And there's a place for Gatorade. Like if you're Steph Curry burning 2,000 calories in a playoff game, like, yes, you need that. But if you just, are chugging on a Gatorade to go sit at your office and make calls for 8 hours, probably not the best play, because then you do have that insulin response, which, like you want to keep that, you want to keep your insulin sensitivity high so that you can't, you don't have those crashes and all that stuff. So for me, like I'm a big fan of like a zero sugar one.
State of hydration,
100%.
Carry it at the store. It's great.
Yeah.
Uses stevia. Tons of minerals and vitamins in there. It's got your fulvic as well.
Right. And I use it a lot. Like I don't use it all the time, but for me, when it's going to be 108 degrees in 2 months here. Yeah. I still got stuff to do. I'm still going to train outside. So for me, I notice a significant difference when I use that. I just don't use it all the time. I probably should more now that I'm doing sauna pretty much every day.
Yeah. Replenish after the sauna.
But you want to be very careful of the labels, not get all the dyes and the bullshit in it. But yeah, it's certainly something to use.
My favorite thing to do is just wake up in the morning, get some like lukewarm water, throw some lemon in there, like half a lemon, and I put in either like some real sea salts, like there's actually a brand called Real Salt, and or some Himalayan sea salt, and just throw like a teaspoon in there. There you go. You got your electrolyte. Like that little bit of salt and minerals is exactly what your body needs to like really hydrate itself. So don't think you have to go get these fancy electrolyte powders, but giving yourself and your body those minerals, like salt, we were so trained to think like this salt is like a negative thing, right? High sodium. And yes, you want to watch your sodium intake, but that little bit of salt can help you absorb the water better, and it actually helps hydrate you faster. So there's my little tidbit there.
I dig it. I dig it once again. As long as there's, it's a trade-off for everything. Element T makes a good one that doesn't have, like what is the original hydration, liquid IVs or whatever. They
sugar
recently
content's pretty high in
but
that.
they came out with the sugar-free one, which I would have said don't touch it until they came out with the sugar-free. Give the sugar-free one.
They had to, because everybody was making, ripping on them.
They had to. Yeah, they had to. So tell me a little bit about this adrenal cocktail.
Yeah, so that's the new thing, is like these adrenal cocktails. They're trending on TikTok. But it's exactly like what I just said. Like as simple as like water, and you add some salt. But like one I saw the other day was orange juice, cream of tartar, which has some adrenal benefits, and sea salt. So
do you know why it has adrenal benefits to it?
No,
it's potassium primarily.
It's potassium.
There's that's the only mineral in it. But they used cream of tartar, right, for like to give it more dense. Was it like a shake? Did it bubble up, and did it get like a lot thicker? So my mom, I think of cream of tartar. My mom used to make lemon meringue pie, and so when the cream of tartar was coming out, that's when you knew lemon meringue pie was coming.
That's funny.
So there's like that in egg whites. Really,
you
is
didn't
what
even
it is.
know you were getting your potassium in.
Potassiumed up. But it's so funny to see that. I was like, why the hell would they put that in there?
Yeah.
It seems like, and then I was like tasting, and I was like, well, what are it's potassium?
Funny. We're gonna have to try it today.
I'm in.
Maybe we'll do a little reel of us making our adrenal cocktail.
I'm not much of an OJ guy. It tends to give me heartburn, but I think I certainly saw that was pretty cool.
That's funny.
I thought that was pretty cool. So
what do you say? What are you calling it?
Oh, it's a hack for sure.
Biohack for sure.
It's a hack.
Great way to hack your health, to jumpstart your day. Like I said, I'm a huge fan every morning, just that little bit of salt. And then I always love like in the afternoon, when instead of reaching for like another cup of coffee, or even I'll combine it with my cup of coffee, I'll do a cup of coffee and then our State of Hydration powder. It helps keep me from reaching that dehydration point. Yeah,
it's and don't the element teas and all that are real good, but I think JoJo's giving you some tips now to kind of keep that cost down, right? Some of these ones are super, super expensive. So we want to, you want to be able to continue to practice this but not break the bank too. So maybe a couple of days with the LMNT and then make one of these cocktails and stuff like that. But 100% absolute biohack.
Yeah.
All right. So you ready for ready for the next one here?
Yeah. The next one is nervous system regulation is the real goal. So we've been seeing this nervous system regulation popping up everywhere. At CryoCon, there was like this chair that was like all about regulating your nervous system. I see ads all the time that are like, come join our program and, it's a regulate your nervous system. And so I think it's definitely a term that's being used a lot. But there might be something to it. So let's dive in here. So, the new goal with this is to feel safe and steady in your body. So you're, walking into the era of regulating your nervous system, feeling good in your own body. The science is, when we think about chronic stress and our fight or flight mode, which I know we all deal with, right. Disrupting digestion, hormones, immunity, and mood. Those are all things that are affected by the nervous system. So, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that one. What's that theory?
Polyvagal?
Polyvagal theory explains how we can activate our parasympathetic
through your vagus nerve,
through our vagus nerve. Okay, so this is the rest and digest state or your calm state. So this is using tools like vagus nerve stimulation. We talk a lot about that when we do the cold plunge and why you want to get that cold water to the top of your neck because it does regulate. And for me, I got to tell you, that cold plunge regulates the heck out of my nervous system. Like I feel calmer throughout the day. My anxiety never peaks up to that, point where I don't want it to go. What do you think about this one?
I think it's real. I think that a lot of things that are being sold don't do what they say they're going to do. Mm-hmm. But I think it's something to, the what we're trying to do, I think is a hack. I think a lot of the methods to go about it are bullshit. Like you said, we were at CryoCon and I was on this one thing. I was like, dude, what are we doing right now? Like, this is... It
was interesting. It was like a device that vibrates to regulate. I mean, I think there's something to it. It could be another thing where consistency is needed there.
It certainly was not for me. Let's put it that way. Now, a cold plunge is though, and if we're basically doing the same thing, sure. But like I said, like the methods at which that are doing that.
Yeah.
And to me too, like we study cold plunge and we're always kind of in this. So it's like, it might be, point being is it might be beneficial for somebody other than me. No.
So I want you to call biohack or bullshit on these ways that you can regulate your nervous system.
Sure.
All right. Cold plunge.
Hack.
Weighted blankets.
Bullshit.
Ooh, I'd say biohack on that one.
Okay.
Humming or singing.
Bullshit.
I mean, I've heard, people who have like children with like autism, I think that is something they use to help regulate. Like, so might be some science around that. This comes
from my perspective.
Do
I think that there's science out there? Yes. Does it work for some people? Yes. Does it work for me and where I'm at? Nah.
Or even gargling. Interesting. So.
I'll let you try that one.
Yeah. I'm all for it. Anything where I can have less anxiety, I will. I'm that person out there trying it. So I think there's something here with regulating your nervous system. Absolutely. Like I see it with the cold plunge. It truly does help me regulate my nervous system. I think there are other tools and things out there.
But it's hard. It's hard for us because I think the cold plunge is you're at 1,000, and anything that's not, and we've been at 1,000 for years now. So anything that's not at 2,000, we're going to be like, or at least me personally, I'm going to be like, So, but yes, I think it can be, but I'm with you.
Cool.
I'm with you.
All right, let's dive into this last one here then. Glucose tracking.
Hell yeah.
Tell me about this.
I love this.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have diabetes, people are using continuous glucose monitors, which are called CGMs, to learn how the body reacts to food, stress, and even sleep, right? The science behind this is that spikes in blood sugar, it can lead to crashes in energy, increased cravings, poor sleep, and even inflammation. There was a 2022 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition that that found that stabilizing blood glucose improves mood and cognitive performance. I will say that this is a huge biomarker of longevity. I know like Peter Attia and a lot of these kind of longevity guys, one of your biomarkers is insulin sensitivity, and having a high insulin sensitivity. And this goes back then to what we were talking about before with the carnivore diet. If that's the lever that you're looking to pull, I think there could be better ways, but carnivore diet for sure does that. For sure, 100% does that. So that's really what you're looking to do is figure out. I had one, and I would track and see what foods did what to me personally. I like it I think they're great in the fact that you're able to kind of create a baseline and figure out where you're at. So you can adjust accordingly. Like, I want my blood sugar to be a little bit higher if I'm going to go work out. Whereas if I'm in recovery mode or I'm not going to do anything that day, that's my insulin response is real key.
I'm dying to try this. Like, I've been seeing it everywhere ever since I read that book by Casey and Callie Means. They talked a lot about that. And, I've been dying to get that insight. And it was so cool. Like, in that book, they talk about how they realized with the glucose monitoring, even when they were in an argument with someone, like, it was raising their levels. And it's just so powerful to show you that it's not just what you're eating or it's, what you're physically doing, and your mental, health is making an impact on your glucose monitoring. So I can't wait to try this. It is a little pricey.
It does go across multiple disciplines too, though. You're right. And it's not just food, but to me, the easiest way to do it, and the biggest one with the biggest results, is just the food, right? That's to me. But yes, and then once you get the food right, then you can kind of
exercise and all that,
all that good stuff. So no. They got companies out there like Levels, NutriSense. Then it offers the real-time data so that you can take and optimize your energy, work on food timing, things like that.
I looked into that Levels app. It was actually really interesting, and it helps you track everything so you can see why those certain levels, and it will kind of help guide you on what you should or shouldn't do. So it was cool.
Right. And you can also see like how long it takes for your glucose to go down. So like if I would fast and then I go work out, like lift heavy, I noticed that it went down a lot more too. So it could get me almost back into a fasted state too. Then you're burning ketones as opposed to burning the insulin. So you kind of have that. It's a great tool for weight loss, I think. I know I could talk about this stuff all day.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So with this, right, it's really just a trend moving towards a lot more personalization. It's the idea that there is not one size fits all nutrition. And as far as, these services and hacks and stuff that we do, any personalized stuff that we can do and any data that's going to point us in that direction, which this provides, I am all in on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all in on this. This is 100% a biohack. There's no bullshit in my opinion. Like, I was very cognizant of this, and this is how I lost a significant amount of weight and didn't lose any muscle. Actually, I don't know if you can build muscle. There's debatable bro science, and I was able to just really get in a lot better shape just by doing that.
That's awesome.
And I didn't have to do it forever. I didn't have to, because you're just like, look, you don't eat the effing muffin, dude. Like, you're shot for the rest of the day. So it is for sure 100%. You're all in on it too, I would assume.
Biohack for me. I can't wait to try this. I think it's incredible. I think the more data we can get on ourselves, like I've just been simply tracking my calories this past week. I got this app where I can take a picture of my food. And I mean, just having that data is so helpful. I was like, man, I'm not overeating. And, but I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm eating these things that really are higher in calories. I mean, and so just anything that you can like monitor and track that data. Like, we live in this era of data, so use it for your health. I mean, it's incredible. And then
with AI, some of these next level programs can recommend protocols and data. They can just take that data, extrapolate it, and spit it back out for a lot more useful, actionable items.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up here, we've gone over some really cool things.
Yeah, it's been a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. Some of these things you may be interested in trying. Some of them you may have been calling bullshit on your own.
Yeah, or you're calling me bullshit too, which I'm for. Please.
But we are all in on, this biohacking kind of lever to pull. And we're always looking at new, interesting ways that can help you live, more fuller and longer, hopefully. So, we are actually working on a really cool longevity program that we will be launching here in the next few months. And it will include like some of these protocols that encompass some of these things that we've been talking about. So stay tuned for that because we are excited for that one. But pick one of these things we talked about today and maybe give it a try and shoot us a DM. We love hearing from you, and I want to know what are your thoughts.
I'm a fool.
Yes,
I'm for it. Show me some research. I'm for it.
And if you're looking for more wellness tips, more ideas and things to try, stop by one of our locations and try it out.
We'll see you guys on the next one.